Warning, this podcast has some swears in it.
I'd rate it PG-13 at most, but let's just be on the safe side and say viewer discretion is advised.
Well, these triggers are on the stack, and I've seen you want to respond to those.
Yes, I'm going to cast...
Don't you sublime epiphany me.
I'm gonna spell Swindle You Reverse the Polarity.
You bitch.
No, fuck you. I want that shit gone. Are you kidding me? Time to raise your blades, heroes.
And check some vibes.
It's the Heroes Blade Vibe Check.
What the fuck is up, gamers? It's the Heroes Blade Vibe Check podcast. We're back at it again. Your host here, Empress Quinn. I've got my homie Cole with me. What's good, Cole?
Let me just, there we go. Got a can opening this time on my end.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Oh, hey, we're back. It's been another 2 weeks. What's up? Mm-hmm. How's it going?
You posting online, Lamau, and scaring some people, apparently?
Oh, yeah. Let's, hold on.
Uh-huh.
I gotta take a sip of this drink. This stuff is great.
What are you sipping on?
Oh, I'm sipping on Peace Tea. It's snowberry flavor.
Oh, dude, that stuff is really good, like, unexpectedly.
Yeah, it's also a full-ass can, and I just devour liquid. So yeah, I was like, hey, it's time to share some appreciation to our fans and our friends, and I went on to the Heroes Blade Vibe Check Twitter, which, by the way, you can find that at HBVC_MTG, and I was like, hey, we love and appreciate our friends and our friends and our fans, and everyone was like, oh my god, is the podcast ending? I'm like, what? Huh? They're like,
no, we're just in our feelings.
just
relax.
Like, sorry, I'm giving a heartfelt message. Like, I'm sorry, like, I was supposed editor's note, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. Relax, goddamn.
We're still out here running our mouths, best believe that.
But anyway, appreciation of our friends and peers and guests and so on aside. Yo, you got that fucking sick ass Descended to Avernus?
Yeah, shout out to Lenny at Lenny Woolley on Twitter, who sent me this fucking incredible artist proof Descent into Avernus, signed by the artist, and says happy descending Bruce on the back, and I'm just so hard eyes emoji for that. It truly speaks to my soul.
It's fucking cool. It's so awesome.
It's extremely good. He also sent some other cards in there that I had been fangirling about. We've got a Large Pox and a Bone Rattler. Large Pox is an extremely rude card that we maybe can read later. It's a whole ass paragraph, but Bone Rattler is cute because it's 4 reassembling skeletons in a trench coat.
Yeah, you really cannot make. Yeah, you gotta love these types of cards. That you know what is so wrong about having 4 skeletons in a trench coat? You know.
Great question. I want to find out personally, and that's why I think we're going to put this in my mono black Ashnod deck, and she will crunch the Bone Rattler, make 4 Skelly Boys, and then I can activate their abilities with the Power Stone mana, bring them all back from the graveyard, and I've got 4 dudes now.
Power Stones. I really wish more Power Stones were made just outside of Brothers War. But that could be a discussion for another day, because this episode is chock full of stuff.
Yeah, we gotta get into it.
Let us use Lenny as a jumping off point, because his was the first comment from our community comment section over on Spotify. If you're a Spotify listener, you can check the question of the episode where I just throw out dumb questions for engagement. If that entertains you, please reply somehow, because then you'll get some answers like this. The community comments based off of last episode with our lovely guest Laura was, have you built an Artisan commander deck before? And just to preface, Artisan is your legendary uncommon commander filled with cards that were printed at common or uncommon rarity at one point or another. I also believe this includes MTGO and Arena. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I think so. Of course, like, look that up for real. But it's pretty wild. It makes for some wild things that you can include.
You'd be surprised. The other part of the question, which was my cheeky, are you a Fallout or Doctor Who fan? Because we have your Fallout boy here and your Doctor Who fae on the other end of the line here. And yeah, so Lenny, very first thing that we saw. Lenny says it's currently dismantled by a Halcyon/Feywild visitor artisan deck that turned fairy dragons into bears, which is pretty fucking awesome. He also says, I'm a big Fallout fan. I haven't seen much Doctor Who, but I liked it. Understandable.
Nice.
I'm probably in the same way. I was a Tumblr osmosis guy back when Super Wholock was a thing, and
yes.
I also dated someone who was into Doctor Who and Supernatural at the same time, so it was like, oh, you learn a lot and yet learn nothing about it.
Yeah, I bet that'll learn you a couple of things about a couple of episodes.
What are some other comments we got here?
We've got Brayden, who said, made an artisan Abdel Adrian / Candlekeep Sage deck. Had to take it apart. Sheer power. Made Jury Artisan instead. Was extremely cool.
Hashtag jury posting.
Now turning it into a circus deck with Unfinity cards and Rakdos Cult cards. That's extremely funny. I like the killer clown aesthetic of Rakdos. And you've got what's his name? Magar of the Magic Strings. So it's just like, what a wild commander.
I have been on the receiving end of a Magar deck on a couple different play groups, and Benoit is one of those people.
Yeah, shout out to Benoit.
And it fucking slaps, and I hate it.
I absolutely adore it. Please punch somebody with a 3/3 peer into the abyss that you made unblockable with Key to the City.
Oh, that's gross.
It's so good.
Trenton's coming back, saying, I have several artisan decks. Librella the Magpie is sweet, and Soul Herder is a fucked up uncommon. That is correct. Soul Herder
100%.
is completely fucked up.
I always thought that was a rare, and then I see that the uncommon symbol was on it on arenas where I noticed it.
Are you sure about that? Like, yo,
Yeah.
what?
I'm just like, for real, dog?
He also says here, love Fallout and who?
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's a pretty cheesy sci-fi, which hits for me, but I understand is not for everyone.
Which I find funny is because some people's opinion of Fallout is the very obvious bleakness of a post-apocalyptic wasteland in America, but it's so over the top that it's it's black comedy straight through, because of how dark it is. But
yeah, it's also pretty cheesy sci-fi, but in a completely different kind of way.
Yeah, it is very funny how they managed to do those two types of universes beyond back to back, and you're like, huh, yeah, one is very positive cheesy sci-fi, and the other one is very glass half empty black comedy sci-fi, and it blends together. It's pretty sweet.
Oh man, we've got an impassioned post here from Claire.
It's so
It
funny.
says, love the podcast normally, but blacked out in rage when the entire episode didn't just become about Massacre Girl on a leash in the art of Assemble the Players, protesting the podcast until next upload. You know what, Claire? You're right. My bad. That's on me. I should have brought that up because holy shit, that is some art, and your girl is...
It was a deliberate choice,
Massacre Girl is having way more fun with that than you would typically expect for someone in her situation.
I have no commentary because while publicly we will say we do not kink shame, I do.
Boo this man. Moving on, we're going to say what Light has here, who says, check Twitter for Real Answer Nerd. I'm challenging you, Cole. Not only can we have Indominus post here, but for your pride, I'm claiming Tower Winder. It's mine. No one else can have it, and it's Cole's fault.
So just as a reminder, Tower Winder is a new card from the Thunder Junction precons where it's got Death Touch and Reach, and it's a snake, and when it enters the battlefield, you tutor up your command tower and put it into your hand.
Yep, that sure is the text on the card. It's also blocking my comms just all day.
Yeah. Oh, you want to fly overhead? Death touch reach. Smack.
I had plans for going to combat, beep, beep, and then you've got this silly little 1/1 that I'm just like, I'm not throwing 5 mana worth of creature into that, but also I can't just let you block for free.
Yeah, you really do have to be making some decisions with that. I love. We'll go into it later because as we figured out in me and a group of people in a game with Light, you realize very quickly as you're like, I would like to go to combat, and as I point my finger over at the very colorful, very vibrant snake, like it's got death touch and it got reach, and you're like, God fucking damn it! All right, let me reprioritize where I'm going. Now, the reason that Light sent this over on Spotify, we will now use this to transition into the Twitter half.
Oh, look at you with these blends, Monsieur DJ.
Light snipped what they were originally going to say. If I wasn't hating on the Benoit injury posting. So Light's original message says, I built an almost artisan deck a while ago. Heiko/Narika, rules 0 partners. It was cute, but ran some uncommons. And they also said, I like Fallout more than Doctor Who, but the NTG tie-in made me a fan. Yeah, that's... Universes Beyond doing what is intended.
Yeah, it actually fucking works. The Doctor Who set came out, and I was like, cool, I will rewatch the entirety of the New Who. And then Fallout came out, and I was like, okay, cool, we'll see what New Vegas is about.
When was the last time you played New Vegas?
A Gorgon in a suit is putting their hand on my shoulder and whispering in my ear. They're advising me not to comment.
Anyway, we'll come back to this after recess. Now, as part of the transition to Twitter, because we had just some people reaching out to us and just sending us stuff on Twitter. And let's go back to Lenny saying, my hubby is looking at this for Commander. Does it pass the vibe check? I think so. It's the Riku of Many Paths card that came out in Thunder Junction, where it's 1 green, blue, and red for 3/3 human wizard. The Riku who we did not expect to see, like many people we did not expect to see in that set.
Yeah, for real.
Whenever you cast a modal spell, choose up to X, where X is the number of times you choose a mode for that spell. You exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play it. Put a +1 counter on Riku of Many Paths against Trample until end of turn, or create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. Yes, loves a Hero's Blade. And also... there's been a lot of chatter I've noticed about this guy because of how a lot of modal spells are usually overcosted and never tend to be as good because you either have to choose one or the several modes you cast are usually just like, you're just paying more mana for effects you can get in a single card. But I really do like this design. And I
built the deck and played it several times and had a great time all of those times. I went more just like make a bunch of 1/1 birds and like gum up the board and protect my life total until I can find like Candlekeep Inspiration or kill you with a Mystics' Mastery and a Gutter Snipe or something.
Yeah.
But because he gets the built-in +1/+1 counter and trample, it just like makes that +3 boost from the sword even more meaningful. Because like he's not getting chump blocked, like he's getting through.
Yeah. So when wizards cast Punch, except in this case it's cast Slice with a giant fucking sword. He kind of does all the things, and I'm a big fan of that, so I might think about picking him up and trying something with him.
Yeah, give that a try. It's a lot of fun.
Also, even if you choose like one singular mode of some modal spells, like it's still pretty good just by itself, and just being like, yeah, I'll impulse draw, I'll make a bird. Yeah. It's pretty good.
It's always good to have that modality, and it's worth spending more mana on.
The second Twitter tag that we received in the last couple of weeks was from our previous guest, Laura. Tagged us for Sirach the Hunt Caller, and just said it was just, he passes the vibe check. How about...
Yeah, I sign off on that hardcore. He does the, like, turns on Formidable by himself if you have the Hero's Blade equipped to him. So I think that's just, like, an easy yes.
I'm also a big fan of the fact that he got a downshift. Sirach was one of my... I was a Teamer Clan guy from the get-go as soon as preview stuff was coming out for Khans of Tarkir. And when Fate Reforged happened, and I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? And then he came back, and I'm like, actually, you know what? I kind of actually like this quote-unquote downgrade of having haste in green for, like, a really easy condition. Mm-hmm. And this guy, along with Yeva, Nature's Herald, fucked up my commander pods all those years ago when I had a Yeva Nature Herald's deck, and I'm like, cool, so, you know, get your cost reducers across the board for creatures, cast Flash in Yeva, I don't know, do whatever, Flash in Sirach the Hunt Caller, go to combat, start swinging out, like, these giant 4-mana 5/4s and 4/4s and all this other shit, and it was like,
yeah, you're out here swinging with monsters that have no business having haste. Like, they're supposed to be sitting around and waiting to get blown up by removal because they don't have it, and you're just like, no, we're going to combat immediately. And it's just like, that's really strong.
Yeah, so, geez, I actually need to... I do think I have a Yeva deck put together. I do need to keep an eye on that, because I do really love what that deck can do and what those cards can do together.
This is why I play Conqueror's Flail BTW. Don't be flashing stuff in on my turn.
I will be doing it as long as I'm able to.
That's why I gotta turn it off.
What's up with our vibe checks this week?
Let us segue similarly to a tweet vibe check from the homie Trenton. And, well, it's more from Andy Flory, actually. We've got a tweet here from him who says, does Doric pass the Hero's Blade vibe check? And Doric, Nature's Warden, is a 4-mana 3/3 with Vigilance, who says when she enters the battlefield, search your library for a forest card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. And whenever she attacks, you may pay 1 and a green, and if you do, transform her. She turns into a massive owl bear. It's a 6/6 with Vigilance and Trample, and other legendary creatures you control get +2/+2 trample until end of turn. You transform her back at the beginning of your upkeep, but it's just like... Yes, she obviously wants to be swinging. She's legendary. +3 would be extremely meaningful. But Trenton, in the comments, Cole and Quinn would say no because she doesn't hit that 7 power mark. But I'm here to tell you that a 6/5 blocker deters a lot of people. So abso-fucking-lutely, my guy, she wants to be going to combat. None of that matters. And for that, in the episode notes, I say, Trenton, you fucking troll. Doric passes the vibe check directly to bed with you.
Also another card that needs to go into the Yeva deck. If I can find one, we will find out. Probably not.
Yeah, that D&D layer I did not realize that I would care about until it was far too late.
It was way too late. Yeah, you're like,
once again,
damn, some of these cards kind of fucking cook. God damn.
Filled with regret. I so desperately want to play Simon and not spend $20 fucking on one card.
You know, I love how over time, simultaneously, like, we have a bunch of cards come out, and they're dirt fucking cheap, because there's like 20 different printings of them in the same set, and everyone's like, oh man, the EV, it's so low, and then you get like the fucking secret layer bullshit, where it's like, oh, it's time to fucking crank up the fucking price, and also, oh, it's sold out. It's a shame, ain't it?
Yeah, it sucks, but I like secret layers, so I don't super want to talk about it.
Yeah, fair enough. I am getting the Sheldon one in checks notes. 2 months or so, I think. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, I am
Sooner
also in line for that.
What is your vibe check for the week?
Besides that, I have Clouth Unrivaled Ancient, who passes the vibe check.
What a fucked up...
It is free real estate.
What a fucked up dragon.
So true. That guy attacks, you add mana in red and green equal to the power, like total power of attacking creatures, and it's just like free 3 free mana. For an investment of 2 when you cast it initially. Like, we play not Seething Song, but we play Desperate Ritual, we play Pyretic Ritual. Like, it's the same thing, basically.
Yeah, the fact that, like, this is the baseline, right, of this type of effect. You have Rada, Hair to Keld, who she gets the mode where when she attacks you get double red. And then they're like, hey, here's Savage Ventmaw. And you're like, damn, you get to add triple red and triple green? And it doesn't fade, and it doesn't leave your mana pool. And then they're like, lol, mal, Clouth. And you're like, well, fuck me running, man. This is fucked up.
Yeah, that guy is, that's
All right, everyone.
some pretty sweet card.
Put some Clouth and your Miram decks and just fucking go nuts.
Khaleesi, do not do this thing.
Actually, I would like everyone to do this, and I would like you specifically to do it to Quinn.
No. All right, tell me about your vibe check.
All right, change the deck up. I'll go over it later, but I made Ezram Agency Chief this last couple weeks, and I believe he passes the vibe check. 5 mana 5/5 is pretty standard, so it's not surprising. But the upside is when the modes you can choose for Ezram. By sacrificing a artifact, I thought it was sacrifice a clue for some reason, and I just think because I was just so lost in the clue sauce. But Ezram gains a choice of Vigilance, Lifelink, or Hexproof on top of the flying. So having a 8/7 flying Vigilance on the crack, and then on the crack back, you can give him Lifelink.
That seems pretty good.
So,
and, yeah, you have been lost in the clue sauce lately. It's extremely funny.
I'll go over it later. That'll be much later. But few vibe checks this week, just because I've gone through the new decks already in terms of their respective vibe checks, and now I'm like, okay, how do I keep this up? But yeah, this is it for the vibe checks this week, and we will now swing into content. Of which I will just personally say I have watched only or read a handful of things. It always seems like, hey, Legendary Creature Podcast, that was great. I listened to the episode today, and I heard, I listened to the episode from before. I'm like, oh, hey, there's Lenny. And then they're talking about you, and I'm like, oh, hey, there's Quinn. And some of that podcast good. Thumbs up, recommend it.
Yeah, listen to the Legendary Creature Podcast. Shout out to Sons, who just consistently slays Simic Legends on the review sections of that podcast.
God, that story was so fucking funny.
You gotta go back and listen to the D&D reviews, because that's the backstory for
because it starts with the Gretchen one. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. I will have to go back and listen to that. That's hilarious. So yeah, we will obviously be talking about what we watched or listened to this week. Just in general, because I'm still very high on the Fallout craze that is. I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4. Shocking, but not really, because I delete it from my computer to make room for other things, and then I later delete that big thing and then re-upload Fallout and then add the mods back on and just be like, what am I going to do this time? So the quote-unquote next-gen update came out, released by Bethesda after the show came out. And they were like, oh yeah, it's coming out on the 26th or whatever date it was. And I was like, cool, we will not be having that happen, because it will just brick all the mods, or most of the ones that aren't compatible with it. And as it turns out, there's apparently a lot of new bugs and shit going on with it. So I'm like, cool, we'll prevent that from happening. And I've been running around with a character that has, I got a couple, samurai, Wasteland, samurai mods.
Ooh.
So I got, a cool mishmash of, samurai armors that are definitely overlayered to top another in a way that they're not supposed to. But I'm like, I want to wear the undersuit and the helmet, and then also the chest piece and the gloves or arms or whatever, because, it's a multi-part armor system. And then I'm like, cool, so I'm going to get the samurai sword with mini, it's called the shish kebab. And it's it's a sword with, a bunch of mini propellants on it, so it's on fire, and when you slash people, you just set them on fire on top of, having a piping hot metal blade folded over 1,000 times. And I'm just going around the wasteland, chopping people up while high as a kite. So I got my character hyped up on Jet and Psycho and Buff Out, and I took the perks
Butcher Pete.
And then just I'm facing down Death Claws, and I'm chopping them up in 3 hits, and I'm and yeah, so it's been a great time.
He's hacking and slashing and slashing.
Literally, yeah. And then I've taken my character. Oh, I also. Okay, this is probably going to go into the tangent, but I'm going to try to condense it. A bunch of mods have been coming out. One of them is someone reinserted the karma system in the older games. So you do bad things, you get bad karma. You do good things, you get good karma. I accidentally made my character a raging bitch. And, like,
oh, no.
One of the mod's default, like, options was, like, you just start, because you're just chugging down all these drugs, your karma goes down. I'm like, no, we gotta turn this off. I'm gonna be, like, evil before I even leave, like, the intro, like, area. But then it does other things like, do you commit random murders? I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I do. And they're like negative karma. I'm like, sick. And they're like, do you want to go to the DLC area for Nuka World where it's run by a bunch of raiders? And I'm like, well, I guess. And then I could chop up more people. And then they're like, yeah, you are very evil now. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. But I haven't played the DLC in a very long time. And so far, I'm like very surprised about what is there. And it's been pretty fun so far. So, yeah. Fallout 4. Not as good, not a good Fallout game, but a good game, in my opinion. That's not magic stuff. Let's talk about magic stuff we've consumed.
Yeah, there's that absolute banger of a video about, Gavin Barry put that out on the Good Morning Magic feed. Kind of just like talking about Ward for a bit, where it came from, where it's going, the things that they're going to do less of, and things that they're like, okay, this is fine, and like the lessons that they learned from cards and like gamers' incessant posting online.
Yes, as it turns out, if you complain about Ward enough, they will make a video on it.
Yeah.
And specifically use Voha as the conversation starter of like, let's talk about Ward. And Voha's the very first card you see. You're like, oh damn,
she was
all right.
The inciting incident for that conversation, basically. It had never flared up until like that big.
Yeah. And then they're like, all right, so TLDR, Ward 1 and 2, good. Ward 3 and 4, Ward any other cost, very good. And I'm like, this is good. Ward 2 will still frustrate me to no end in those moments where I wish I had that 2 extra mana and didn't want to spend it on something else. But you pay your taxes where appropriate.
Yeah, I think it's actually really nice. I've been playing Felix 5 Boots as a Cypher deck, and you put a lot of like investment on one guy. One of those guys could be Felix. So if you've got like 15 mana worth of Cypher spells stacked up on Felix 5 Boots, it fucking sucks to get that blown up without them like having to at least think about it. So I like that. And also just like ensuring that you can untap with him. It feels pretty good to have that. The video inspired a deck that I'll talk about later, so that'll be interesting.
Okay. And just because every 2 weeks stuff happens, another video came out talking about Vigilance in Blue, and why Vigilance has been showing up in blue cards lately. People who are crying about how the color pie should never innovate or change in any way have been screaming and heard across the country. I am loving this direction. I just think it's super neat that Vigilance makes sense. Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to watch that yet, but I don't know. There's a couple of blue legends, I think, that I've seen with Vigilance that feel like all right. So it's whatever.
And yeah. And then, of course, because we love Kristen and talk about her stuff all the time.
Yeah, she's back at it again with a piece about Smothering Tithe, basically asking the question of, is Smothering Tithe unfair? And we're doing that like the meme of the Simpsons guy who's like thinking, is Smothering Tithe unfair? No, it's the gamers that can't stop playing it alongside Soul Ring or Wheels or Windmill slamming extra card draw when playing against it and not paying for it that makes it feel unfair.
Yeah.
The other thing that she brings up is she mentions it would probably feel fair if it didn't tax the first draw per turn, which admittedly is a lot of my beef with the card.
Yeah, there's a lot that on a, like, when it was released, it initially, like, how people's assessment of it was, like, probably pretty messed up because God, what was that? That was Guilds? No, not Guilds of Ravnica. One of the Ravnica sets. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, it's 4 mana, and if you're looking at it from a 1v1 standpoint, that card fucking sucks. But you blow it up in Commander, and obviously it makes sense. And then obviously it's a discussion of, like, should this have had 3 white pips in it, or even 2? And should it tax you on the opening card? Which, like, if it probably didn't do that, my assessment of it would be way higher in terms of, like...
I would love that card if it was white, 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 and didn't tax the first card drawn per turn, but every card after that. Oh, that's much more appealing to me.
Yeah, you know, like, that fits into your 2 and 1 color decks, like, a lot easier. You don't have to... you don't have to tech and be like, all right, I gotta put it in my 3 color deck when I gotta make sure all my mana bases pay for the 3 white pips. Because who would do that? Who would rearrange their entire mana base to pay for that? Light?
I don't rearrange my mana bases for shit. I just build it initially and then keep in mind that I'm a greedy bitch and make my fixing perfect. Because I have a 5 color deck that plays the 4 white spell that returns your enchantments from the graveyard or whatever. Like, I'm out here. I also have Unnatural Growth in a 4 color Dinosaur Reanimator deck, which is like a green, 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 green. And that deck is, it doesn't give a damn about Blood Moon either, so I can just do that with basics.
Okay, I didn't realize we were going to be mentioning Blood Moon this early. Goddamn.
I'm pretty passionate about that lately.
Understandable.
But anyway, Smothering Tithe. Gamers gotta treat it like the hate card it is, and Teferi voice, slow things down.
I do not like doing that, but sometimes you just have to do it. But yeah, like, obviously in a vacuum, it doesn't do a whole lot, but when you start adding to the pot that is, it obviously gets out of hand every single goddamn time. I do really like the card, though. I do. It's frustrating, but I do like it.
I don't. I only play it in an Ultra Magnus Stacks deck.
And then, just because Kristen is obviously so generous, her new article today was about 10 cool dragons that you should play more often in Commander. Shout out to Hellkite Igniter making the list. Let's go.
Hellkite Igniter mentioned.
Downshift win, please. Thank you. All right.
Is that... Can we do that? Is that okay? I don't think we can do that.
No, I don't think we can do that, but I'm just saying maybe think about it. I would like that. I just understand if that wouldn't happen. That is it for content that we've consumed this week. And we will now go into games and brews and shit. What is up with you?
Let's take a look here. So, like we mentioned at the top there with Felix, we built the pure Cypher deck with Felix that we were talking about last week. The basic game plan feels a lot like Boggles, but with spells. You just stack a bunch of Cypher spells on our evasive creature. We chose guys like Mercurial Spelldancer, who just straight up can't be blocked, or Sedgemoor Witch, who has Menace and Ward. And we put all of our Cypher spells on creatures like that, encode them on them, and then go to combat, and on combat damage, we cast those Cypher spells again. We set ourselves up with cast triggers that burn our opponents. We've got, like, Professor Onyx, I think is the only real example of that, besides, like, I think, like, Witherbloom Apprentice, maybe, but that guy has a reputation, and I don't want it. Onyx is 6 mana.
But that being said, like, the fact that you are focusing on Cypher as sort of like the linchpin of the whole strategy, because again, we've talked about it before, because when you were like, yeah, I got Shadow Slice in this deck, I was like, hot damn, sign me up. I don't give a fuck what else is in the deck. You got Shadow Slice, I'm sold. And I just feel as if, obviously, a lot of people are going to look at this type of deck, and unless you preface it with, yes, obviously you have Magecraft, but also you have Shadow Slice, and you're playing Cypher. It chill the fuck out. It's just, you're just paying a bunch of mana for a spell that will go onto one singular creature. Most of the time.
Yeah.
Also,
so, yeah,
there's only 16 Cypher spells. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's not like a very well supported mechanic, but I'm playing, I think, 15 of 16 cipher spells now because trait doctoring doesn't do like anything besides run the storm count
it's
up.
14 out of 15 because one of these has cipher in its name, so it will omit that. But
okay, yeah. I've got 14 out of 15 cipher spells.
Yeah. Hey,
we are dedicated to the bit.
Hey, trait doctoring. 1 blue mana for a sorcery that says, change the text of target permanent by replacing all instances of one color word with another, or one basic land type with another until end of turn. And it's like, yeah, we ain't...
That's for the nerds who want to interact with like Urborg and make it like islands, but I'm not doing anything like that. It literally just runs the storm count up in my deck.
Like what I sent to you earlier this week. I'm not reading all that. Good for you, or I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's for Orvar nerds who want to cast that and then target their thing and change a color word on it and make a copy of it and have it ciphered on a guy so you can do that repeatedly. If you're doing that in your casual Orvar deck, hit me up. I want to see it. Other stuff that we're doing in this Felix deck, though. We're making bodies. We got the Sharknado franchise, Sedgemoor Witch, like we talked about. We got Metallurgic Summonings. We're trying to draw some cards. So we've got Simon from the D&D Secret Lair, who I so desperately wish I had gotten. He draws us a bunch of cards when we cast our spells. We've got the Saga Jin Gitaxis to do that, too, as well as Archmage Emeritus, of course. And we're farming those cast triggers every time we trigger Cypher. And we play Felix, and we do it twice per instance of combat damage instead. And it goes so hard even without Felix in play. So when we do play Felix, we have to have a tinfoil hat like the size of Texas, because people are absolutely going to try and interrupt us, and we have to stop it on the stack and keep farming that value. Gamers, free spells, good? More at 11.
I'm shocked. I can't believe this. Who would ever cast free spells? Would never be me.
Yeah, you would cast a free spell or two. You'd also try and interrupt my free spells and interrupt me interrupting you.
That is the opening bit for this episode, so you damn right. Yeah. God damn. The games we play are so funny and so hilarious. Meme-worthy also. It's so fun.
Truly.
Don't know how we always keep making banger content with each other.
Hey, Magic the Gathering might like slay. It might whip. It might own, actually.
So I will. I got it as usual. I just filled the list with shit, and some of it is just repeating what was said episodes before. But we're just gonna go over this again. So hey, update from my spreadsheet that I am starting to feel the wear of trying to keep it updated all the time, but. As of, actually, yeah, oh geez, perfect timing, it's the end of April. Just doing a quick tally count on the different types of commanders that I have seen over the course of 118 games this year, give or take. I've seen approximately 260 unique commanders.
You sent me this figure and I was fucking flabbergasted. Holy shit.
Now, obviously, the actual list of unique commanders as was the giant list that I had sent to you over Discord, which I had to break it down because I do not have whatever the Nitro, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know.
I think you still would have hit the character limit on that.
Yeah. So I had to break up the list up and break it down into like I think 3 different comments, and I wrote down like I was paraphrasing some of them because like when I do my notes, I don't want to put the full name. I don't have the room for it on the spreadsheet, so I'm usually like Tristani 3.0, Crom 1.0, blah 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 ad infinitum. Yeah. And yeah, so. In terms of, like, when I think about the people that I very consistently play with, obviously some of them bring the same commanders here and there, or they're just trying the new thing game after game in those games, like, you know, that night. So there's a bit of overlap of those commanders showing up a few times. But, you know, and then every once in a while you'll see, like, 2 or 3 different people playing the same commander, like, 2 months apart or later that same week or whatever. So... there are a few duplicates that are showing up in that list, but when we're talking about, like, and this total is also including my own list, where it's like, when you think about it, it's like 260 or 270, obviously, like, it's shallow pool. There's so many legendary creatures. But that's a pretty good number of, like, unique commanders to see across the table from you. Like, it's just, I don't know, I find it's been good diversity, and it's made for more fun games, even when you have to be like, yo, what the fuck is that card? Read it. Oh, it's the new thing. Okay, got it. And you kind of, like, lock it in a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's good.
I think that increased, like, diversity in the commander ecosystem or whatever is only ever positive. You get to have more different and varied gameplay experiences, and if you meet people that you vibe with and they, like, have a certain experience, like, you can keep going back to the ones that you like and also go out and try new things. It's once again, Magic the Gathering, the game might be kind of good.
Yeah. I think the only thing that you will hear on this podcast is our continued passion and happiness about how our Commander games have gone.
Yeah, dude, shit's fun.
Everyone's, like, my spreadsheet only has maybe, like, the small handful of, like, no, this game wasn't that great, and most of the time it's usually just, like, bad hands or just, like, whatever happened. Like, it usually was just, like, nothing really happened, so it feels bad. But anything else has usually been a pretty good, positive experience, and it usually has to do with the people you sit down with and what the heck they're playing with. And it's a good combination. It's real fun. Okay. Because I had so many things here, I'm just going to put this here, because this part's really exciting. I got Killer Queen loaded up on Tabletop Simulator.
I'm so fucking hyped to finally try this with you, dude.
I know. It's gonna be jank as fuck, and that's the best part. Like, how do you put this card on the bottom of the deck? Well, you gotta pick up the whole goddamn deck and put it on top of that one card, and then you gotta pick the deck up and put it back in its respective zone in the middle of the table that I've made. So, and Benoit, thanks to you for taking the time out of your day to help me out with it. It was just a few minutes, but I wanted to make sure all, like, the assets were visible to the other players. So, and then I also had to, I'm like, okay, quick rundown. How do I disable flipping the table? Because that was the last thing Benoit did before we closed the call and shut the thing down. But it was like, he flipped the table. I'm like, wait, you can fucking do that? He's like, yeah, dude. And I'm like, fuck. So I got a pre-save thing ready to go to load up. I toggled a bunch of stuff off so no one can just, like, fling cards or fling dice at each other. I got little, little life total stand-in things that you can click up and down so we can just keep track of stuff. And yeah, like, it's pretty much ready to go. I don't know how or if or when I would even, like, attempt to stream it or have someone do that for me. I don't know. Quinn, you got the stream key for Lexicon. We could probably maybe do it sometime. I don't know.
I could assume direct control of the MTG Lexicon stream machine and
get G3. We can get G3 in.
Lexicon presents Killer Queen.
Actually, that'd be pretty fire. We should talk. We should figure it out. But yeah,
we should actually do that.
I think there might be. I don't know. I think there is, like, a spectator option if you give someone, like, permission to come in. And then you could, like, lock that viewpoint in one window. So that way no one can, like, see the active player's hand. I don't know. It's a whole thing of, like, how the hell would I present this on Tabletop Simulator, which is already, like, an experience in itself. It's been a bit of a learning curve just to get everything started. And it will be, but once I get everyone to sit down and, like, fiddle fuck with this goddamn thing. But yeah, we will now be able to play Killer Queen through the power of Tabletop Simulator across the internet. We have the technology.
I'm so glad we got this figured out. Oh, hell yeah, dude.
And yeah. What's up? What else has been up with you the last couple weeks?
We're back at it again. Hashtag TARDIS posting. I have been feeling extremely satisfied about where my Jeskai Cascade burn list is ending up. Spent a lot of time on considerations and all of the inclusions, and it pays off in pretty much never being dissatisfied with the cards that we draw a Cascade into. Just like doing the thing that you do with hashtag blood drip posting, thinking about the pieces that I'm including in the deck and whether or not they're like micro increments better or worse than other deck or other cards in the deck, and all of that. Just like the tuning it's paying off. I do have one other thing that I'm thinking about adding to that. Ardent Plea. It was, yeah, not even on my radar until people that were on like 60 card gamers were talking about moving on to that in the 60 card Crashcade decks after they banned Violent Outburst. It seems good here. We only ever attack with the TARDIS herself until late game, so that'll let the Exalted on that cook. I think it might be worth a slot in the deck, and that's where I'm at like with this now. I'm just like, I'm ponderous about precisely one card.
Yeah, it does really come down to, I mean, you hear me talk about it for like Audra posting or blood posting, you know, like just the new cards or why justifying keeping something in there. And then when you get to like, I mean, we're talking about Cascade. There's so many like okay Cascade cards, but you're like, yeah, I'd put it in there just because it does the thing I need it to do. And yeah,
I actually don't have that many spells in the deck even that say Cascade on them. There's only like that and the Phoenix with Cascade, I think.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the TARDIS is almost entirely my source of Cascade. So I think having one other piece in the 99 that'll like trigger the first Doctor and put a counter on the TARDIS when I'm casting it, like if it shows up after the TARDIS does, I think that'll feel pretty good.
And you know, Exalted doesn't hurt either when it matters.
Yeah, exactly. I am trying to kill you with my phone box, so any little bit of damage that I can get from that helps. Shout out to the Blackstaff of Waterdeep, actually. I put that in the deck pretty recently and had a situation where I needed to be able to attack with the TARDIS, but all of the creatures were getting -4 or -5, -0 power. So even though I had the first Doctor on the battlefield with 4 +1/+1 counters on him, he still couldn't crew the TARDIS. So I'm just like, well, shit. How are we going to get these attacks in? How are we going to planeswalk away from here? So the thing that we ended up doing was activating the Blackstaff of Waterdeep, turning the TARDIS into a 4/4 creature, and then we went to combat and swung and got the attack trigger because we didn't need to have crewed it with a Time Lord. A Time Lord just needed to be present when we attacked.
You know what's more terrifying than a creature attacking you? An animated artifact becoming a creature and attacking you when you least expected it.
Love to push the button and just hit you with my phone box.
I did send you a photo recently of the phone box showing up in my hand from a game I had the other day.
Yeah, I saw that. Apparently you didn't get to cast it, though?
No, I just, like, instantly died.
That's truly a shame. What were you up to that warranted that? Because I'm sure.
Well, I was playing the 6th Doctor with no Doctor's Companion, and it was still, people were like, no, we gotta get rid of you. I'm like, well, fuck.
Yeah, that's what you get. Should have had a companion.
The cycle of games that I was playing that particular day just were not in my favor. Oh,
that's rough.
But, you know, some other people finally got some of their hard-earned wins. Well, I'll talk... Well, actually, what the heck? We'll talk about it now. It is so funny being part of... It's kind of a continuation of the conversation we had the other week about, like, players' relative longevity in Magic or in Commander in comparison to us. And it's like, when you're like, well, I've only been playing since War of the Spark. Or whatever, right?
Oh, for me personally, it's Throne of Eldraine, but yeah.
Yeah, Throne of Eldraine. For some people, it's that, and you're like... when you think about people who were out of Commander or Magic for so long, and they come back in, and then they're like, yeah, I've only ever started playing Commander with you guys. And you're like, okay, yeah. So we've been playing for about maybe 6 months or so. And he's like, yeah. I can count the number of wins that I have in like 2 hands. I'm like, wait a minute, that's like a lot of games. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And so when he starts going over how he won and why he won in each of those specific wins, and you're like, oh, fuck, you didn't win that many times. What the hell? And it's simultaneously, like, when you think about, like, how... Like, I said I played 118 games this year. I could tally up and tell you how many times I won, and I'm not really going to be sweating about it a whole lot. But when someone tells you, who's not even keeping track of their games, and they're like, yeah, I've only won, like, maybe 6 or 7 times, you're like, holy fuck. That could be really demoralizing for some people. And yet he's kind of, like, riding that high because he's starting to, like, understand the groove of Commander and the social nuances, obviously, and sort of like how do you kind of scale up your game when you don't really kind of understand how to navigate it, and then eventually figure it out. So it's really cool to see that in one particular play group that I'm in with right now.
Yeah, we love to watch gamers learn and grow and get more comfortable with what they like to play in the game, and maybe like broaden their horizons and just like see them experience the game. It's fun.
Yeah. This is also the guy who is the notorious Slivers player in the group. And so I think it was like turn 4. He just had all the things he needed for his Slivers deck to just combo out and win. And he's just like, and now I have achieved what I wanted to achieve. I will now bring a different deck in this deck slot the next time I come out. And I'm like, oh my god, that's hilarious. It's
Nice.
Benoit will tell you, however, that Slivers are not that big of a deal because they're just a bunch of 2/2s, and you should just target them with removal.
They are just a bunch of 2/2s. It is literally the same deck as the pile of Changelings deck, and if we're going to be normal about the Changelings deck, then we need to be normal about Slivers. And we are. We just kill the ones that are most impactful. The Boros Cloud Shredder Sliver that gives, like, haste and whatever. You simply cannot let that one resolve or you will die.
He first grabbed that and was like, no, wait, that's the wrong one. And I'm like, wait, that's the wrong one. What the fuck are you grabbing, dude? And it's just...
Yeah, they're not trying to show you that deadly threat until much later.
But it eventually happened anyway.
Yeah, of course. It's just, you got to bide your time with that.
This is a terrible segue back into my Fallout obsession.
Yeah, tell me more about your being a Fallout boy.
So, I put out an incredibly cheeky tweet of Atraxa, Praetor's Voice, with 3 Fallout Magic the Gathering cards, and I said, this isn't your normal Atraxa deck. To which everyone says, fuck off, Cole, yeah it is, and I'm like, yes it is. But it's all Fallout cards.
No, it's not.
But it is
you
what it is.
You literally did Fallout set constructed. Like,
yes.
Who has a Fallout set constructed deck? That's Atraxa, like nobody.
So yeah, and it ended up leading to like a few good discussions with some people. But my goal was, I'm like, look, obviously the Wise Mothman is a card that would be your face of your radiation deck, and obviously you should, because the Wise Mothman's a fucking awesome. But I'm like,
yeah, that's a good card.
I'm like, now hold on, but like, yes, obviously all 4 of the decks managed to go across all of the colors of Magic, but I was like, we need to like get White up in here because there's some +1 counter synergy stuff. So the current version of this experiment needs more of the white spells from across the decks. It's just super hard, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I have to try to justify having Atraxa as the commander, because the idea of making 5-color... Fitz is already doing that. Mr. Fitz says he's doing a 5-color one.
I've seen it in action. The deck is real.
And I'm like, well, I gotta make the 4-color version because I want to do like the +1 counter / radiation counter proliferate shenanigans. Atraxa just seemed kind of like the natural...
I do got a point of order. Shenanigans is a red card and would be outside of Atraxa's color identity, but there's plenty of other destroy target artifact in those colors. I'm sure you'll find it.
As it turns out, when you do narrow the scope down to just like the Fallout precons, when you're able to put in both Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares on top of like all the other stuff, yeah, it's kind of not surprising that you can make a 4-color deck with a bunch of removal. Putrefy, God, well, there are a few other ones. You could put Anguish to Making in. You can put in Vault 11 Voter's Dilemma, which causes so many freaking problems for
That
people.
saga looks real interesting.
So Vault 11 Voter's Dilemma is 2 white and a black with 3 chapters. The first chapter is for each opponent, you create a 1/1 human soldier creature token. And the other 2 chapters is the same chapter. Each player secretly votes up to 1 creature. Then those votes are revealed. If no creature got votes, each player draws a card. This will never fucking happen. Otherwise, destroy each creature with the most votes or tied for most votes. I got to use this because this is in the Caesar Precon. It surprisingly does work because everyone's mind games is because we've had some of these effects before of like, you have to obviously vote for your own thing that is the target. But the mind games comes in of, well, you know that they know that you know that you're going to vote for the thing, so you don't vote for it, so they vote for it. And then 2 things get blown up, or 3 things get blown up. So it's a neat little mini game that just so happens to be able to go up a mode. Just because you can update the chapter right away with an Atraxa, as to like, obviously people choose Atraxa at that point. And that's why you fucking put on a champion's helm and tell them to fuck right off. So yeah, this is a deck that I think I'll need to come back and work on a little bit just to add a few more like white cards. But I was happy to put in like Arcade Ganon, Behemoth Sledge, Anguish the Making. I think I don't remember if I updated it or not. Oh, I did put in Almost Perfect. So you can make Atraxa a 9/10 Indestructible Flying Vigilance Death Touch Lifelink monster behemoth.
Hey, that's Voltron, baby.
And the mana base, as it so turns out, like there's a lot of ways
the fixing seems basically perfect. You got all of those multicolor lands in all of the decks, and there's a good number of them that are untapped, so you're probably real good.
Yeah. But yeah, you get to play a few board wipes. There's a lot of board wipes, as it turns out, because it's Fallout. That's not a surprise. You get to play Rad Storm and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, it seems fun. Whether or not
Here's
I would...
the real question, though. Okay. That one saga... I forget which vault number it is, but it makes just a metric fuck ton of zombies.
The Necropolis?
Yeah. Do you have that one?
Oh, that is on the list. Are you fucking kidding me?
Okay.
Because here's the thing. Okay,
because you're like spinning up your rad counters, you're spinning up the saga.
This is my Fallout brain moment. So hear me out, right? So... Baseline, you have the 2 options of also including Winding Constrictor and whatever the fucking 4 mana equivalent of that thing is. And I'm like,
Corpsjack
Menace. And I'm like, what the heck, we'll go with Winding Constrictor. The next step is, if we're making a bunch of mutant zombies, because those are the ghouls, what is the next step? Well, obviously, we have to include Hancock Ghoulish Mare, where each other creature you control that's a zombie or a mutant gets +X/+X, where X is the number of counters on Hancock Ghoulish Mare, who also has Undying. So it comes back with a +1 counter. So, great. Okay, so you at least get 1 shot to, like, have them come back, and then immediately start bumping up your board. No problem. Glowing One, which, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they get 4 red counters. It has Death Touch. It's a 3 mana 2/2, and then whenever a player mills an online card, like off their Radiation, you gain 1 life. It's a zombie mutant. Great. Feral Ghoul. 3 mana 2/2 with Menace. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1 counter on Feral Ghoul, and when the ghoul dies, each opponent gets a number of red counters equal to its power. You proliferate it. Continue on. And then sort of the thing that kind of makes me kind of like tie it all together, because it is probably a Fallout New Vegas quest you did not do. Jason Bright, Glowing Prophet, whenever...
No, I did that, actually.
Oh, you did do it. Okay, you did come fly with me. Okay, good. So whenever a zombie you control dies, if its power was different from its base power, draw a card, and then come fly with me, pay 2, sacrifice a creature. Put a +1 counter on target creature control against flying until end of turn. So we get our ghoul representation, obviously. We got to do it, but because there's the synergy of like putting +1 counters on stuff and then proliferating them, kind of seemed like a no-brainer. But yeah, it was just kind of an experiment of like, Atraxa is an obvious answer for a lot of these types of strategies, but I wanted to go and be a little extra cheeky because some feature, like, I don't know, in my head, I think I made the meme and I tweeted it, was the Vexing Radgol and the Thrumming Bird grasping hands and being like, for the glory of Phyrexia.
Yeah, exactly.
But in this case, we'll just base it off the Children of Adam cult in the games. Who they're like, Adam is the supreme god of nuclear power and the wasteland of all. Like, okay, cool. We'll just lean into that. But yeah, I think the deck kind of just like has everything except maybe like counter spells or whatever. You know, you got removal, you got creatures, you got interaction, you got ramp, you got card draw, blah, 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 and removal. So it kind of just does everything, and I thought it was a neat little experiment, and whether or not anything will actually happen with that, like whether I'll make it, probably not, but it just seemed cool to just try.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool exercise. I've seen a lot of that with the Doctor Who decks. You get smashed together with the Secret Lair Doctor and Companion, and you put together the 4 or 5 color Doctor with the Gallifreyan Win. And then, like, that's set constructed too. Like, it's a cool thought experiment for people. I'm glad they're out there having fun with it.
I forgot that Mana Crypt was a card. Was it Mana Crypt or Mana Vault? It's probably
Mana Vault and the Fallout Secret Lairs.
Yeah, so Fitz added that to his list, and I was like, oh yeah, I still won't do that. Because we got Arcane Signet and we got Soul Ring, and we're still good to go.
Yeah, it's a colorless dark ritual. It's probably fine in context.
In your constructed Fallout deck, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my Atraxa Fallout deck spiel. The link will obviously be in the episode notes.
Hell yeah. I want to go off script and fangirl about Mono Black Ashnod for a bit.
Okay, go on. We're back. Okay. She's hacking and...
Yeah, exactly. She's hacking and slashing. I played a game with her pretty recently after not having played her for quite some time. And I was just like in the back of my mind, like, I don't know, do I keep this deck together still? Does it own still? Should I maybe like use those sleeves on a different deck? And then I took Ashnod out and played her and just had an excellent game. I didn't end up winning it, but we put Gisa's favorite shovel on her. We had the Vorpal sword, and she's just like swinging for 5 commander damage that people are just not interested in interacting with at all because I keep making them sacrifice creatures and then making zombies and turning those zombies into power stones and farming all of that value. And she's just like 1 mana, so if you blow her up, I'm gonna cast her again for extremely cheaply. And just like chunking people for 5 felt really good. And they were fearing the Vorpal sword before we had the mana for it, which is extremely funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she was just like doing everything that I built the deck to do. And I was just like, wow, I can't believe I was thinking I should take this deck apart. It fucking owns. I need to get more cards for this, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ashnod appreciation post. Shout out to your girl.
I'm glad to hear that you still managed to work on the deck.
Yeah, we actually just got the secret lair with the Dockside Chef in it and put that in the deck because the art is absolutely fucking adorable.
Dockside Chef, let's go.
Yeah, the card is extremely cool, and if we're going to make a bunch of like tokens that we can crunch for value, Dockside Chef is a great way to cash those in.
I am glad to see more and more variations of the Dockside Chef like activated ability. Mm-hmm. There's just more and more and more of hey, sacrifice an artifact or creature, do a thing, you know. And yeah.
Oh, shout out to Preacher of the Schism, who is in the deck, and also you've been Preacher posting as of late. And just
yes, yeah. I as usual, I like sit and sometimes I'm looking at my phone, and every once in a while I get an email notification from my Oh god, I got a tangent now. Let's for my LGS, as I've told my girlfriend a few times, and the first time I said that to her, she's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then I'm like, "Oh right, Magic the Gathering acronyms that I just casually use in my vocabulary." So yeah, one finally showed up on my wish list, and I was like, "Hot fucking damn! It's time to grab me one of those and throw that in Ishin 2 Evans' one, because it just is gonna do the fucking work."
Yeah, it's really strong in the Ishin deck. I had it in the brew that I put together on Moxfield and liked it a lot with the doubled attack triggers there. But even just getting one of the attack triggers in Ashnod also feels really good.
Yeah. So, hey, people, don't underestimate your little one-drop Death Touch ladies who make Power Stones, because you might have an Empress Quinn show up on your doorstep with a Vorpal sword.
Yeah, knock, knock, open up the door, it's real.
Immediately stabs. Just like, okay, all right, hold on. My girlfriend was watching Scream, oh god, was it Scream 6, I think? Like, one of the recent ones.
6 of them?
Yeah. I want to say it's 6. It was VI. Yeah, that is 6. All right, anyway. And my immediate thought process, because when I said open the door, stab, was whoever was being... Okay, I'm just going to show that I don't watch horror movies. The Scream guy? I don't fucking know. It just freaking goes up to these people. Like, it's the tense horror movie moment, and it's like the zoom in on the character who's like looking around like their place because they're on a call with a guy, and he's like, I'm here, I'm gonna fucking stab you, ha ha ha, here I go, I'm gonna stab you, and the guy like, you're not gonna fucking stab me, you're not in here. He's like, I'm just a guy, I'm in your house, I'm gonna stab you, and then they turn around and the camera changes and they get stabbed like 3 or 4 times in like a split second, and I'm like, that's just the thought process in my head of like a Vorpal blade, of just being like, I'm just gonna stab you, and you're like, no you're not, and then you pay, what is it, 8 mana, I think, for Vorpal sword?
Yeah, it's 8 mana. And
then you just
5 black.
And then so you just get stabbed 8 times. It's and then you die, and then that's it, you know?
And just lop your fucking head off.
Yeah. But yeah, good shit. Good shit.
Oh, yeah.
Love Ash outposting.
Alright, speaking of equipment that is awesome, tell me about Tarian Soul Cleaver.
Where do we want me to get started on the Tarian Soul Cleaver? This equipment has been a all-star nearly every time that I've played it or seen it played. And the reason that it's on this list is specifically because of the one time that I was playing my Piper Wright deck, and I had Clancrafter out, and I had Tarian Soul Cleaver out.
Ooh.
Piper got big real quick.
Yeah.
In that particular contest, because you're like, all right, activate Clancrafter ability, sacrifice a clue token, hold on. First things first, Tarian Soul Cleaver. Put a +1 counter.
Yep.
Piper Wright's ability triggers, put a +1 counter on her. Clancrafter trigger, put a +1 counter on her, and then you just kind of go off to the races. So yeah, Tarian Soul Cleaver is in Bloodrick Prime, which I'll go over that in a bit. Piper Wright, the Eisenhorn deck, I think, or is it in the deck yet? I don't know, I think I'm still putting it in, like, considering, and I think maybe I got it in maybe 1 or 2 other decks, but Tarian Soul Cleaver has been a shocking overperformer just in how quickly people are like, oh yeah, I guess I'll crack my treasures or whatever. You're like, cool, sounds great, I would like to increase the power of whatever the fuck is equipped to. And the vigilance on top of it is actually kind of just stupid.
Make people think twice about activating those treasures, and if they do, then, well, get bonked.
Yep. Good card is good. More at 11.
Are those still cheap?
I think they're maybe like a couple bucks a pop.
Oh, no. Alright, I gotta get my hands on at least one.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll gonna do background research. Well, do I just keep going with my stuff, or do we go over to your stuff?
Yeah, dude, tell me about Ezram.
Okay, not much to... I won't say it's, like, not much to say, and I do have the list. Just give me a second, I'll bring that up here. But, like, I was like, okay, I had my go-to big win with Will Sign a Piece the other week. Trenton could tell you all about it. He loves it so much.
I was also in that game. We were saluting.
But, you were saluting, and he was just like, God fucking damn it, seriously? And I'm like, yep, this is how it works. So I was like, okay, I am done with the good old Cyan piece because I don't know, too many.
We're done gaining a bunch of life and casting a Stormherd for sheep.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm done with this, and I grabbed an Ezram a while ago, and I'm clearly still on like my clue high of Piper and Eisenhorn. I'm like, I guess I can make the UW investigation agency to go with the UB investigation agency. But I am like lacking a few of the parts that the other two decks have. So I was like, cool, let's just go with what the fuck do I have on hand? How can we make this work? I took some pieces from the Will deck and I incorporated it. I grabbed a few other things. I had grabbed a Knowledge is Power from
that's a good one.
So it's like, all right, well, turn 1, draw a card, all my creatures get +1/+1. Where can we go from here? I don't know, like Ezram having a half decent ETB, clue tokens, like any tokens that get made, is just going to be powerful because they're artifacts inherently. So, what the fuck can you do with artifacts? Well, in this particular case, I'm not making them creatures yet, as much as I would like to. But, I had an extra Piper Right lying around, throw that in there. You get your Portal Mage and Portal Manipulator as part of the list, so you can start redirecting.
Hate those guys.
Because you know what? Not only will I cast a spell in response to you declaring attackers, but I would also like to have you not attack me. That'd be great. And then, you get stuff like Reconnaissance Mission. You put in a Mondrak Glory Dominus because, making extra clue tokens is good and powerful, you could say. And then finally, kind of like, because I've seen this card in action, and Merchant of Truth, where whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate, and clues you control have exalted.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely totally not a control deck, but it's kind of a control deck.
Ezram is literally a control win condition. You put that in the command zone and gonna tell me you don't have a control deck? Babes, be for fucking real.
Yeah. But yeah, get some board wipes, get some removal, get some artifact stuff. Put a Linvala Shield to Seagate, because we got a Seagate post while we can.
Of course.
And put in an Armed with Proof because of Boros equipment carcinization.
Because we're beating people the fuck up with Ezram. We're gonna stall the game until we can land our large, and then we're gonna give him lifelink to buy us more time, and the other keywords to continue aiding the bonk.
Yeah. Good stuff. I had one game. It was a 5-player game. I didn't get to do a whole lot. But I do kind of see where I'm going with it. I'll just, fine-tune it and see where it goes, or, maybe just take it apart and use it for something else. But I do like what I see. I do get to play Nykthos Paragon. So,
Is that guy that aids, puts +1/+1 counters when you gain life or whatever?
Yeah, it does. I do.
Yeah, that's my mortal enemy, and that's why we turn off life gain.
And this is why we cast Bond of Discipline, where even if we don't gain life on that turn, we're still tapping your creatures down. Or we're going to cast Thought Weft Gambit, so we can untap all of our creatures and tap all of our opponents.
You hate to see it.
It's how it works. It's just...
You better not hit me with the sleep either.
Yeah, it's just how it works.
All right, it's time.
What time is it?
Time to talk about this last deck here that I've built. I haven't tested it out yet, but with all the #ward posting going on, I thought it'd be extremely funny to put together a deck of larges with ward and just repeatedly put air quotes uninteractable threats on the stack in the stinkiest color combination. So there's a $30 Galanra and Brinelin brew. and Galanra, Caller of the Wildwood, basically my mana dork. I tap her for green, and when I spend that mana to cast a spell with mana value 6 or greater, draw a card, and then Brinlin, whenever it enters the battlefield or whenever I cast a spell mana value 6 or greater, I may return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. It's also an 8 mana 6/8 Kraken, so it's just ramp and larges and
damn, I didn't know we were doing
larges.
I didn't know we were doing another episode of the Uncommon Commander podcast.
I just wanted to see what was possible for the very cheap amount of dollars. Haven't gotten to test this out yet, but we've got just a bunch of guys with Ward and also O'Hare Caslim to put more guys into play for free. I'm on fucking Archive Dragon, Dreadlight Monstrosity. I got the Colossal Sky Turtle in here. I'm on like Marauding Brine Fang. I'm playing Tlincalli Hunter as like a one-shot creature reanimate.
Okay, alright.
I got the Star Whale and the Tarrasque and the Interdisciplinary Mascot. Like, all of these are larges with Ward that are, like, either uncommon or extremely bulk rares. And they just sit on the battlefield and they don't get interacted with, and I'm going to turn them sideways every turn, and some of them have trample or vigilance or reach or just horrible things. I've got a fucking Lord of Change in here from the Warhammer set. It's a 7 mana 6/6 with flying and ward 3, and when it enters you draw 3 cards. Like, I'm just casting larges that you can't interact with.
I mean, look, for one thing, you're playing some Simic bullshit. We'll just start with that, right? And that means...
it's some Simic bullshit. I wanted to try it out.
That means, depending, like, in this case, because of how you're leaning into it, is like, you can lean less off the typical bullshit and just put out big, dumb stuff which are hard to interact with, and then you just have to deal with it.
We found room in here for a fucking Storm of Saruman. So
I cannot believe I can understand why you put it, like, you should obviously put it in here, but like, holy shit, being able to just, whenever you cast your second spell, you get to oh my god, excuse me, I got hiccups from this goddamn peace tea. But yeah, whenever you cast your second spell, you get to copy it, except it isn't legendary, of course.
I'm gonna spend fucking 1 mana and cast a cantrip or something, and then my second spell is gonna be like the Tarrasque, and we'll copy it, and it's not legendary.
Jeez, that Ward 10 is just like, you're never paying this. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that's hexproof.
That is effectively get fucked. Fuck you. Get out of here. God.
Yeah, so I can't wait to actually give this deck a try. I think that'll be very funny for me. Of course, immediately after we finished brewing and we're like, this is in a good spot, I think I can playtest this here, we thought, hang on, would this be funnier as a Storvald Frost Giant Jarl deck?
The answer,
and I know what you're saying,
is, well, no. You're good. Because I did have a Storvald deck at one point.
Okay.
Yeah, look, Quinn, do you remember my Cataclysmic Gearhulk play?
Oh, yeah, and your Lagrella the Magpie Blink deck?
Yeah, that came from my Storvald deck. So, it's I know what's going on here. I see the vision. If it became Storvald, I mean, look, if it's Storvald, it's fine. I know. I understand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now for the people who don't know, they're out here thinking, who? And I'm saying, Storvald, my friend Storvald from AFC. Storvald Frost Giant Jarl is a 7 mana 7/7 with Ward 3, who says other creatures you control have Ward 3, and whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, you choose one or both. Target creature has base power toughness 7/7 until end of turn. And target creature has base power and toughness 1/1 until end of turn. So I'm going to be out here making your larges into 1/1s and turning my larges even larger, or my elves or whatever that I'm done ramping with into 7/7s that I can bonk you with. And I think that if my deck is full of larges with ward, it'd be extremely funny to have a commander that also gives them ward. And just like, you truly cannot touch this.
Yeah, it's just not gonna happen. Like, it was probably like one, hey, we do love Titan designs.
We do love Titan designs, yeah.
And seeing it at, I mean, it's more Dungeons and Dragons. It's Titan, and it has ward, and it does really cool, funky. It just messes with math in the best way, and I really should just try taking another crack at making it myself.
Yeah, just put some guys in there that you absolutely cannot have people touch, and I don't know, go to town.
Yep.
That's a plan. What's the infect? That's a thing that you could do.
Are we just... Why is it like every... I've already made that joke. What are we doing here? You get your little freaking 1/1 death touched infect infiltrator guy, and you just fucking go. Oh, he's an 8/8. Fucking deal with it.
He's base power toughness 7/7.
Yeah, true. Oh, there's a lot of different routes that you take with a Stormvolt deck, including just like completely fucking up people's combat. Just being like, yoink, it's a 1/1, deal with it. And they're like, aw.
But I was gonna block with that.
You're like, it's too bad, it's too late, get fucked. God, this is just the beauty of Magic.
What a cool game we all get to play.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna zoom on through. Oh, I got how many? No, I got like 2 things left. I got 3 things left. No, I got 2 things left. Okay. Your boy finally did it. He put together the other Bloodrick deck.
Nice. I'm applauding, because I've been joking about doing that for several months now, and then you're finally like, all right, bet.
Yeah, I was so hesitant. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do it. And it was just like, I had all the cards piling up, and I'm like, I really want to keep putting in more cards into Bloodrick Prime, which is now what I'm going to be referring it to. But I finally was like, okay, I took a bunch of decks. When I was taking decks apart, and I took apart the Quintorius and the other... God, what was the other deck that I took apart? I can't even really remember. I just had a bunch of like leftover lands. And I was like, cool. All right, let's just put it into motion. Here's your sleeves. You already got those. Here's the mana base. You already got that. Now you just gotta cram together from the backlog, as I will be referring to this version as Bloodrick 2, the backlog. Nice. Of just like, all right, let's get the familiar stuff, and then let's get like the stuff that you haven't employed yet, or didn't really have time to employ, or deploy, I guess in this case. And in this particular case, it's like, okay, let's change the focus a bit. If we're going to be putting more equipment in, let's also put in a much more heavy focus on artifact banner stuff, which means Sunshot Militia came back, thank God.
Nice.
We, because we're trying to have a bit of a higher focus on equipment, we got Jorkadine First Gold Warden and Mary Esquire of Rohan back in with Dan Lewis and Piercedale Paladin. So
let's fucking go.
If we're gonna be leaning into the arterial alchemy angle, we'll just keep doing that again. Still got the classics of like Inti, Seneschal of the Sun, Reckless Fire Weaver, and then we also back it up with like Hedron Detonator again, this time for good. You gotta have ways to advance the game state meaningfully via the reduction of life totals. We put in Fathomfleet Swordjack, which I think hasn't been in Odric for a very long time. But being able to encore this to deal damage equal to the number of artifacts you control, pretty strong. Despite the fact that he's got the only keywords I would have at that point is haste, but like Odric probably already did the job at that point. And then I'm like, okay, cool. So let's put in Angel of Indemnity and Sun Titan and Redemption Choir, because like let's just fully deploy all 3 of them rather than
Hell yeah.
having
Let's
to
fucking
compete
go.
in the same deck. And then we kind of get like the top end. We're looking at Blast Furnace Hellkite.
Let's go.
Because it just seemed finally appropriate. Because on top of Blast Furnace Hellkite, the sort of like 5-drop plus slots, we're looking at the Nazgul Battle Mace, which gives the Annihilator 1 Menace and Death Touch, and then whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, I get to put it under my control unless they pay 3 life. Love that. We have Scavenge Brawlers back in. Steel Seraph is back in.
Nice.
Achroma's Memorial, Angel of the Ruins, obviously, and Cauldron Complete.
That is such a good set of equipment. I love Cauldron Complete.
So we're the mentality this time around of sort of the backlog version is that rather than assembling a assortment of creatures that kind of cross the like checkmark the list of all the keywords, it's going to be about assembling your own monster of keywords to meet the criteria for Atraxa to enter the battlefield. So we got stuff like Lizard Blades to be the equipment, but also the creature with Double Strike. Same thing with like Kellen's back in, of course. Like Kellen's got to be in there.
Yeah, you can find the best equipment in your deck, not Sunforger.
Yeah, well, hey, well.
Stop that.
You know, I mean, you know, it's not the chance is never 0, so you might see it.
Catch me out here breaking Sunforgers like I break Skull Clamps, except people fucking have the blacksmith skill off of Sunforger because of course they do.
And yeah, it's just generally like whatever I've been sweating over the last few months for Bloodrick Prime in terms of like quote unquote the best cuts, the blah blah blah, the best versions of whatever. We're taking that the compromises and shifting focus and putting them here. I made approximately 8 or 9 blood tokens like after Audric hit the battlefield once.
Let's go.
So I feel like maybe like I've lost the vision, but like I don't know. Like I lost the vision in the Prime deck, and now in this one we're doing like changing things up a different way. But yeah, so far it'll be interesting to see how this version turns out and how often I'll be like updating this one. But already from like an initial gameplay standpoint, like while I didn't see the Detonator, the Arterialist, or the Reckless Fire Weaver, or the Sunshot Militia, we did see Angel Flyer Ignition deploy.
Nice.
And as I've been reminded of by casting it, for a 3 mana and for a 4 mana flashback of giving something 2/1 counters, Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Haste until end of turn, that's kind of cracked.
Holy shit.
So
what a collection of keywords.
I might need to try to make a cut so it goes back into Bloodrick Prime. But yeah, it's nice to see it as sort of I think G3 came in after I was sharing the list, and he said that he actually appreciates this list more. Because he's like, I obviously see what's going on with the Prime deck, but I feel like I appreciate this, like, the stepping stone, like, of what this is, you know, if I, so yeah, they've got different things, but the same core, between both decks, and it'll be interesting to see how, what experiences I will learn from playing this version.
Yeah, I think that's extremely cool that you actually took the time to put that together and are getting to explore different avenues that you maybe didn't get to fully flesh out with the first deck. It's a great way to really, like, see what's good with a commander. And
also, once again, share the light of Avacyn to other people my own way.
Yes.
Yeah, no, very cool. It'll be interesting to see. I do need to get more reps in with it, because I've actually recently, kind of looking back at my spreadsheet, the Bloodrick number has gone down just for this month exclusively because I was just trying a bunch of the new Fallout decks. However, Bloodrick Prime did show up with the one game that I had with the Praetors for Change peeps.
Yes.
Finally got to play a game with Light, Eliana, and Alice the other week. It took forever, but we did it, y'all. It finally happened. But it was a great time. We were shooting the shit, calling each other out for our bullshit as usual, as expected. We were each playing our respective signature deck. It took Elle like an hour and a half to finally show up, because she's like, I gotta re-sleeve this deck, and Light and I were like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Because she would, I guess, like, she'd had the deck in like the same sleeves and forever, so she was finally like, time to update, because they were starting to split and everything. We're like, you could have like joined the group and then like sleeved while we were chatting. Goddamn, calling you out like this. We're like, all right, let's just bring the signature decks. So I brought Project Climb. Light brought Indominus Rex, as expected. Elle brought Giada, and Alice brought Kadira. And we were like, all right, it's time to fucking throw down. And, you know, Stack's pieces hit the battlefield, and a fucked up Indominus Rex hit the battlefield. Did you know, and Light apparently confirmed this, and I'm going to believe them, because there can only be one person who goes into hashtag Indominus posting as much as I go hashtag Blitric posting, and that is Light. Trample over Planeswalkers is tracked by Indominus Rex independently of Trample.
I did know that those were separate keywords, but did not know that Indominus Rex was like cared about it.
So you can get a Trample counter on Indominus Rex and a Trample over Planeswalkers counter.
Sick.
So, not that it came up. Thankfully, it didn't come up. But we were all just like, yeah, anyway, this dinosaur is fucked up. The fact, God, discard your hand, draw that many cards, put that many counters on, fucking bleh. But anyway, so...
It's an extremely cool deck.
The three behemoths, and obviously this is no shade at Alice, because Alice was like, I showed up to the fucking end of the world with a bunch of bunnies, and stole the fucking win, because we were all just fucking beating the ever-loving shit out of each other, trying to, like, navigate through L's stack pieces and all this other shit. And then Alice is like, oh, but I got an army of bunnies. And we're like, oh, yeah. That
You cannot sleep on the token doubler in the command zone.
But
you did, and then you died.
I also had the audacity to be using Generous Plunderer to give Alice a treasure token early, which totally, definitely did not help us in any way. But she also deployed that new train that, like, makes treasures for, like, each thing that crews it, I think. I don't know how that one works, but it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, that sounds wild. Is that from OTJ?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it was, like, it's the one that has, like, all the filigree from Kaladesh on it. It is, like, you can only do it as a sorcery, and you can only do it... like once each
Luxurious
turn,
locomotive,
or like whatever the condition is. But
whenever luxurious locomotive attacks, create a treasure token for each creature that created this turn. Crew 1, activate only once each turn.
So generates that value. But it has been good to get offline games with people. We're like, there's obviously a bunch of content creation going on pretty much every damn day. If you know where to look, or you just follow everyone, so you just get to see everyone go online at the same time. But there is a lot less pressure, and just a lot more. It's nice to just not be able to perform for a bunch of people and just perform for the three other people on the in the table.
Trying to be engaging for chat and trying to hang out with your friends are two slightly different vibes. I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, Audric, Blood Cursed, once again doing the good work. And now I got two of them, and God knows what the hell I'm gonna do with that. I may be in too deep now.
Absolutely not. I think Sheldon had like 3 Carador decks.
Oh, so yeah, that's true.
You've got one more deck before you're in too deep.
Well, I'm already like 40 decks in, so like, you know. Shout out to Kuro for just outright saying the truth. You should just have a bunch of decks so you never are inflexible in terms of how you engage your pod.
Yeah, that is a take that I saw online with the Was that Mental Misplay?
Yeah. That was Alan.
Yeah, he does these really cool convention interviews, and Kura was in one of those, and was just like, hey, so if you have a bunch of decks, you can have a bunch of experiences that you can bring, and always have the right experience for you. You always have the right dress to wear to whatever kind of party you're going to that way. Mm.
Start with 5 decks and go from there. See what happens.
Yeah.
All right.
With that, gamers, I think it's time for me to read the full text of the card Large Box, and then we can get the fuck out of here.
Right. Bringing it back. We're bringing it back around. We did it, everyone. We got there.
All right, so Large Box is a sorcery for black that says each player discards a card, then loses 1 life, then sacrifices an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, a land, a planeswalker, and a kindred permanent, then exiles a card from their graveyard, then puts the top card of their library into their graveyard, then removes a counter from the permanent they control, then gets a poison counter.
What the fuck?
Uh-huh.
Alternative win cons.
So anyway, I have this cast Large Box deck.
You always got the coolest cards.
All right, let's head out of here.
No, hold on. Wait, where can we be found? I'm going to make you do this more often. This is great.
Yeah, okay, fine. You can find me personally on Twitter at Girldick Energy. You can find Cole at Uncommon CMDRMTG. Is there hyphens or underscores or anything like that in there? No?
It's hyphen on Blue Sky.
That website isn't real.
Anyway. It's not real until it has to be, all right?
Anyway, you can also find the podcast together. We have a Tumblr.
We have a Tumblr.
Okay, we have a Tumblr. You can find the Twitter for the podcast at HBVC_MTG. So get there. All your Heroes Played vibe check posting over there. Then, I think that's it. Find us wherever podcasts are sold.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Nailed it. First time, every time.
We'll see you all in the next one.
Later, gamers.